Hello, welcome back. I'm Tisha Singh, legal researcher at Law Community. Today will be joining us Advocate Kanika Bhardwaj. She is founder at Kanika Bhardwaj Law Firms and she practices at Delhi High Court. Hello, ma'am. Welcome. Ma'am, all students wants to know that why did you opt for law as a career, and please share your law school experience.
First of all, thank you for having me here. And why did I choose law as a career? Is because I always wanted to opt law. And I was in 12th class, I remember, and I wanted to do law only. And the one reason why I chose law was because I was very passionate about the law. All the legal procedures, everything. I remember I told my parents that I wanted to do law, and my dad, even though he's from a non-advocates background, I'm the first generation lawyer. Still, he used to arrange visits to court. He used to have a friend of him who was an advocate at that time, and he used to arrange my court visits even when I was in 12th standard. So after analyzing the entire procedures, and even in 12th I used to sit in court. So I analyzed the entire procedure. I got the understanding of what actually the lawyers do, and then I was with the time, gradually I became so passionate that I thought that I will opt this as a career. And also I was able to know myself in the very initial stages. I was very clear. My goal was very clear that I have to go into litigation. I have to fight the cases. I was very much clear. So yes, the one was the passion for law, and other was the zeal to fight for people's rights. So these two things, and I know somewhere in myself that I have that capability of, I have a good argument skill. So I was able to analyze that also. So these three things basically dragged me to this profession. Number one was passion. Number two was zeal for fighting to fight for people's right, and number three was because I was good in arguments. So I thought I was a complete package, and I was very confident also. So I opted law as a career. And my law school experiences, I've already mentioned that I am a first generation lawyer. So I had an idea about the working of courts and everything just because my dad used to take me to courts for the visit. But when I entered the law school for the very first time and I attended all the lectures and seminars, I was at point blank. I had no idea what was going on. I was not able to understand any legal language because the very first thing even in school, even in law schools, what they do is they start with the Bear Act. So once you read the Bear Act without knowing the legal terminologies and everything, you are like blank zero. You don't know what to do. I was not even able to understand a single section. So I was very, it was like a very complicated for me, and it was like I was getting anxieties also that, oh my god, what is going to happen now. But then gradually with the time I have experienced that practical knowledge and bookish knowledge are two different things in our profession. Once you read, you know that this is the law, but it's more important to know that how to implement that law, and that will come only and only when you work in court. How the implementation works, all this, no law school, nobody, no teacher, no lecturer can teach you this. You have to learn it by your own self, by your internships. And I understood this when I was in the second semester. So I started my internships and everything and moot courts and all these things. Uh, but yes, the law school experience was as compared to the other people. See, I was because I had nobody by my side who was an advocate and who can guide me. So I took a step. First, I joined an NGO because in second semester, obviously, you don't have any knowledge who will actually keep you as an intern also. So I just wanted to know about everything. I explored each and every opportunity. I started with NGO, and then I went to Supreme Court also, High Court also. I worked in corporate also. I worked in I worked under a family law lawyer also, criminal law lawyer also. And then that was the time period of 5 years where I explored the opportunities to understand each and every aspect of that, what exactly I want to do. So this 5 years of time or 3 years of time, if you, there are two kind of law, 5 years and 3 years. So in this particular time, I would advise you to utilize this time to explore as much as possibilities, because once you get a degree, you won't have time to explore then. It's now the show time once you get the degree. So before you get a degree, explore as much as possible, participate in as much as competitions you can, and moot courts are very important, I would say, because I have done number of moot courts in my 5 years term period. So moot courts gives you very nice demo of actual court, and it helps you learn arguments and helps you being more confident in your arguments. It will help you improve your arguments also. So yes, to sum up, that the law school experience initially was not that good, but then gradually with the time when I started learning, when I took an initiative that I want to explore opportunities, it became interesting from time to time.
Ma'am, as a person sitting in front of you, I am curious to know, like you said, that you are a complete package and you know how to argue in court. Ma'am, what tips and what lessons you have learned while arguing and in your experience? Could you share with the students?
All right. So when I remember the first experience when I was selected for a moot court competition in my college, and I s- n- the first before that I would like to say that when I say that I'm a complete package, it means that I'm very confident. A person who's very confident can only say this. So it is you have to believe that you are a complete package. I don't keep I am saying this and explaining it to you because right now you are asking me questions. But I don't go everywhere and say I'm a complete package, I'm a complete package. I believe that I'm a complete package. So the first point is that you have to believe that you are a complete package. Then only things will start getting happen in your way. And secondly, what I learned from the moot court experiences is that I remember the very first incidents that I was sharing with you, that I was selected for a moot court competition, and my director of college said that, Kanika, you do research work. And I was like, I cannot do research work. I can only do arguments. I'm meant for arguments. I know how to argue. I know how I will draft a good arguments. If someone will give me a research work, I know how I will go and present that. I will do arguments only. So he said, no, you go research only because you have been selected as a research person. So at that point of time, I became adamant that, so I will do as a mooter, or I won't be able to do, because I won't be able to do research work in that good manner. So number one point that I have learned from moot courts and such activities is that you first you analyze that what you are good at. There are various aspects of litigation. There are various aspects. As I said, number one is the research work, then number two is the drafting, then number three is how you argue. So you know that at what part you are good. So once you know, emphasize on that more. Some people, there are some people who are advocates and who are specialized in civil litigations. They are very good at drafting. They might not be very good at oral arguments, but they are very good at drafting that. So they emphasize more on drafting, and they earn from drafting itself. They show their clients, they highlight to they are drafting only to the clients. Now, what in my part, I am a very good mooter. I was a very good mooter. I can do arguments very well. So I emphasize on that only. So number one is that you first analyze and judge that what you are good at, and focus on that area only, and then other areas. Number two, I got to know the demo of the court. Uh, since it was an advantage for me, because I already used to go to court. As I told, I was in 12th class. I used to visit courts also. So I was a little bit aware of what are the proceedings and everything. But again, that are coming up on the front and arguing, just watching is very simple. But coming on front and arguing is very difficult. So actually, it made me more open when I was arguing in the front of actual judges, and I argued in the front of judges who were in Supreme Court also. I argued in front of judges also, sorry, justice also. So at that point of time when I was only in second or third year, so it made me more confident. And the product I am right now is just because of that only, because I was so vocal and vocal in public speaking and all the activities, and therefore it actually brushed off my talent a bit. So number two is that you become more open. Number three is that you know how the court works. It gives you a better idea, and because in moot courts you have to file a memorandum also. So memorandum is, though we cannot say that it is similar. It is not even similar to filing a petition in court, but at least you know how to draft whatever case has been given to you. At least you have an idea that this is how you draft, this is how you submit, this is how you do things. And with the time you just brush off your talent more. So number three is that you learn how to a little bit of it, you learn how to file petitions in the court. You just, it gives you an idea. So these are the few things that I have learned from the moot court competitions.
Thank you, ma'am, for that insight. Ma'am, what challenges did you face in the initial stages of your career, and how did you come out of those challenges?
Okay, this is a question which is very, it literally made me remember everything that I've gone through. So uh, uh, I'll start with the first part where I got my degree, and because I have explored every possible thing, but even I believe that was not enough, because getting the act, because I believe that juniors are paid really less as compared to other fields in our field. Um, uh, I remember I started with 4,000 rupees, and I was doing, I won't name the firm though, but I was appointed as a junior in that firm. So I thought I will do a job, and let's see. I was wondering that let's see till how I can do a job, and then I was very clear that I have to start my own law firm. That I was very clear, but I didn't. Nobody was there to guide me, so everything was in my mind. Whatever I do, I have to do it my own only. So I started with a job because obviously I did not have that resources, and also I did not have the clients, which is the main part of, and then I did not have partners also. I have to find the partners also for establishing a law firm. So I did not have anything at that time. So I started with doing a job. When I did a job, I used to realize that number one, I'm working for someone else's name. I was very good at appearing in the courts. I was also learning drafting point as well. So every time a senior used to say, go, you do this matter, I used to do 5, 5, 10 matters in one day. And still there was no appreciation, and it was really heartbreaking. And then I realized gradually that I am working for my senior's name, not my own name, number one. Uh, Number two is that whatever I used to do, I was, realizing gradually. And then third thing that I would like to tell you here, that no senior would want that his junior to move forward. No senior would want that, and no senior would teach you also. You have to learn it on your own self, and I have experienced it very well. So uh, yeah, so these are the points that I was like, it was going on in my mind that this is not how things are going to work. So 1.5 years I did juniorship just to learn the work, and just to learn the office, how to manage the office and everything. But a point came, even I was promoted in between. My salary was, I started with 4,000 rupees, then my salary was 25. And the day when I left, I realized that I drafted uh, the entire writ petition. I drafted it, everything I did it. And my senior took 60,000 rupees. I was kind of devastated. I was like, I am working so hard and I'm getting nothing. So I decided to quit my job that day itself. The next day, I called my senior. I said, sir, I won't be able to come. And then it was a really difficult time for me to take a step, because I was getting a monthly salary and my expenses were like very fixed. As now coming to a point again to point zero was really difficult for me. And to take that particular step, that you want to do a job, you want to continue with a job, or you want to go into litigation. Because once you go into litigation, nobody knows when your first client will arrive. You don't know when he will come, the first client will come, and when you'll be able to start earning. So I was very confused, but I then took a step that if not now, then it's going to happen never. So I thought in my mind that okay, let's give it a try, because I always wanted to be into litigation, and my goal was very clear that I have to open my own law firm. So on that day, the next day I called my senior. I said I'm not coming from work from tomorrow, and I started my own thing from the very next day. I had no chamber, I had no office from where I can operate. I know nobody, but still, I chose Saket Court as to join the court. I used to go to Saket Court, which was nearby my place also. So I used to go to Saket Court, and I used to operate from my car only. Whatever the paperwork, everything was in my car. I used to go to canteen. I used to sit there. I used to think. I used to carry my laptop. I used to work on laptop only. And from now there, a very nice incident happened that I was just having coffee one day, and just one lady came next to me and sat down, and she normally asked that, are you a lawyer? I said, yes, I'm a lawyer. And she said that actually I've been facing problems in my marriage. So I was able to analyze that she's my first, there is a possibility that she can be my first client. And now then she became my first client. I handled her in a very nice way. And then I took there are basically uh, centers also in court. If you'll go, these conferences room are made just for the client and lawyers meeting, just for the lawyers. In every court there are such centers. So I took her to the center. I handled her very well, and I took my first client. I took keys from her. So from then it started, and that was a time from when I never looked back. That was the only time. So these are the problems that everyone will face. Being a first generation lawyer, I would suggest everyone would face. Obviously, if there is someone who is a lawyer at your home, then you won't face all these problems, because you'll be having a chamber, you'll be having ample amount of research books and everything, resources, clients, and you'll get a platform to work on. But I would suggest every first generation lawyer would face all these problems, and I'm pretty sure about it. So once you are not passionate, and once you are not adamant that you want to do this in your life, you won't be able to succeed.
It was really touching. And so, like you said, that you always wanted to have your own law firm. So, could you share with us your journey of Kanika Bhardwaj Law Firms?
Yeah, so then as I told that it started from that particular client, and from that day I never looked back. Uh, I have done various, now very interesting part is that I was getting clients, but then now the main part of my dream, which was going on in my head, is Kanika, you have to establish your own law firm. How will that be possible? Because then you need a chamber, or you need an office, then you need all kind of services, and then you need partners in that, you need your own proper website, everything. It's a huge thing. So I remember that one of my senior, I took his help. I called him up. I would really love to mention his name. He's Advocate Jeetu Singh sir, and his chamber is in Saketpur. I called him up and I asked for the help. That sir, I need a place to operate from in order to register my law firm. So he said that I was blessed, though I would say that he said that uh, uh, I can use his chamber for that. I can use his chamber to meet clients. I did not have my own chamber when I registered my law firm. So my law firm is registered on his address only, even now also. Even though I have the in the paperwork I've changed it, but right now also the law firm is registered in his address only. So that was the first step that I took, that I found a place from where I have to operate. And then I called a few of my friends who were my friends in college also. I met them in college, and they were like really good in everything, like drafting, arguing, and they were into litigation only. So I asked them that this is my plan. I want to open a law firm, and will you be helping me? Will you be my partners? So even they agree to do so. So we collectively opened this law firm, and right now we have come really long, because I remember previously we had no panels. We had only 8 to 10 clients, and but then what we did to promote our law firm is we started doing free legal aid in our society. I did that number of time, and it helps a lot. You have to be really social if you are even if you are an advocate, or if you are having a law firm. You have to be really social to attract the clients, and you have to be really wherever you go, you give your visiting cards everywhere. Even in the saloon I go to, I give my visiting cards there. Even if I go to market to purchase even a toothbrush, I give my visiting card. So this is how you have to expand your networking. So we were constantly working on that, and the journey has been really difficult, because what happens is that uh, when you have to, even the clients also expects that the lawyer they're hiring must be having 5 years of experience or 10 years of experience. Even if you see that various posts on banks which have been where there is a vacancy of panelist lawyers, so there's a criteria that you must be minimum 10 years of experience, you must be having this much of so I was like, it was very difficult for us to be on the panels of various companies. We have to go specifically and ask to do the meeting and everything. It was really a difficult part. But yes, now touchwood, everything is online, and we are at a very good part. Touchwood.
Ma'am, do you think that age and gender matter in court when someone is finding an advocate for the case?
Um, See, there was a time when it used to matter, but if I see now, I will tell you that it doesn't matter at all. It is only your caliber, it is only your capacity. That is it. It doesn't matter that you are a woman or you are a man. I have seen women also arguing at the top of their voices, and I've seen that uh, there are many senior advocates we have learning from uh, senior advocate Pinky Anandji. We have learning from Indira Jaising ji. I mean, these are the people, these are the women who have got us great judgments, and we are still learning from them. So, examples are already in front of you right now. If you'll go to the High Court, if you'll go to the District Court also, you will find so many women lawyers, and every second case will be a woman lawyer, and they are getting really good in their field. They are doing really good in their field. It doesn't matter at all. So it only matters on your caliber, and it only matters that how much you can struggle. Because in our in our litigation field, the practical knowledge is must. Because it has been a perception always that women are only into bookish knowledge. They cannot do field work. It is a perception. If a woman has caliber and capacity and she can do a field work, I can pen it down that she will go more ahead from a man in this litigation, in this field of litigation. So it doesn't matter at all. But I think age is somewhere that I would consider that it matters, because because it is very evident that even if you have to be, just as I already told you, that even if you have to be on a panel of a company or a panel of a bank, or even if you have to be on a panel of some government sector jobs. So there is a criteria that you must be having minimum 5 years of experience. For example, I have applied for panel of MCD now. So earlier I won't be able to use to apply because there is a specific criteria. Even if now you'll go on the Google and type criteria of being a panelist on MCD, you will be able to see that even now it has been written that minimum 5 years of experience is required. So yes, the age and your experience is kind of it matters. But once you have been into litigations for 5 to 10 years, then there is no looking back. Then there is no looking back. Then you can the first 5 to 10 years are the most difficult years of a lawyer's life into litigation. Once you have completed 5 to 10 years, then there is no looking back. Then you will go really ahead. So yes, age somewhere, yes, I can say it matters, but not the gender at all.
Ma'am, how has the pandemic scenario affected the legal workings in your daily life of business? And what do you think about e-filing and virtual court system?
Right. So see now the pandemic, it's a new thing for all of us, and the lawyers basically, uh, everything is off right now. Every court is off. Only the urgent bail matters are being heard by the judges. And even I was watching the news that even few of the judges who have been sitting in uh, court in this pandemic situation, they have also been caught by coronavirus. So I have been hearing this in news also. So it has been affected quite badly to the lawyers. Now the new era of webinars have come in. So if some of the lawyers are into webinar, as in I am also one of them. I keep doing webinars and everything, but we are not being able to earn. So now there are two categories of lawyers also. The first category is of the young lawyers, and the second category is of the senior lawyers who are more experienced than us. So I would say that senior lawyers are not getting that much affected, that the young lawyers, as much as the young lawyers are getting affected, because the seniors already have ample amount of work and everything. So obviously must be a downfall, it is for sure, but not that much as compared to the young lawyers. The young lawyers are suffering more. And secondly, there are those lawyers also who have come from other states in Delhi. So those lawyers, they have to give their rent also, they have to give their electricity bills also. So those lawyers are suffering really bad in this scenario. So there was a strike also in Rohini Court a week back that everyone was saying. The district lawyer court was saying that you have to open the court because lawyers have no source of income now. The High Court is basically giving directions to extend to keep extending the lockdown, and because the lawyers of High Court, they are already well established, and there is a possibility they must be earning from consultation also. So what they are doing is that they are not opening the courts, they are not resuming the work, and the district court lawyers, they are basically are not happy with the directions. They want that the court must resume with the precautions, obviously. We can take precautions, we can keep sanitizers, we can cover our mouth, we can wear gloves and work. There can be a limited number of time working hours, for example 10:30 to 3:30 or 2:30. We can work 2-3 hours in a day, meet our client, and then go home back, taking all the precautions. So obviously such directions are expected, but then again we have to see that what is more safer for us, because lives, we have to save lives also. So yes, the lawyers, few of the lawyers are suffering. District lawyers are and young lawyers are suffering in a very adverse manner, but the I don't think that High Court lawyers are or Supreme Court lawyers are suffering in that amount of harassment. They are not suffering that much. And yes, so let's see. Right now, the courts are off till 30th June. A recent direction has been come that the court will remain off till 30th June 2020. So let's see what's the next update on 30th June 2020. And about virtual courts, I think that we should now establish more of virtual courts, and we should establish more directions and more norms on it, because online, because right now social media and online working and virtual working, all these things are very much into the market. And also it saves time and efforts also, because sitting at home and you can anytime you can go online and do arguments. It's convenient also, it saves times also, and then it saves paper also, because in we see that you have to file hundred of pages in petition. And so it will save paper also, because in virtual hearing you just have to make a CD, you just have to scan the Word document or the PDF, and you just have to make a CD, or you just have to upload it on the website. So it saves the paper also, and it saves the time also. So virtual hearing is obviously, now I suggest, it's a very nice and a new concept that has been taken by the court, and the very nice initiative which has been taken up. And I think there should be more development on this thing called virtual court.
Ma'am, one advice that you would like to give to law students or young lawyers that are here at this point in time?
So, to all the young lawyers, I would suggest that if your passion is litigation, that don't quit. Don't quit at all. Because I have seen, even in my batchmate, if I see long back, even in my batchmate, we used to be like 150 batchmates. And right now, when I see, I find nobody into litigation except then 5 or 10. So everyone, either one of the friend is doing a job, or another one is being a lecturer or something like that. So another one is being a legal advisor of a company, a job again. So if you are into litigation, then do not quit at all, because the starting years will be really, really difficult. I know that. And but once you have patience, once you stay on the field, and once you don't give up, then I am pretty sure that there is no good profession as legal profession is, in the part of litigation only I'm talking about. Number one is that do not quit at all, just keep going. Number two is, don't be scared of anyone, even if your opponent is a senior, or even if your opponent is someone who is very known face. You don't have to be scared, just give your best shot, and trust me, things will work out. Because initially also I used to, I used to get scared that, not now obviously, but initially I used to get scared because I used to handle cases independently on my own only. So there was a time where I was just 1 year of I had 1 year of this experience, and it had been just 1 year starting my own law firm. I had a very good case, and the other opponent was a huge person. He was a very dignitary and honorary person at that point of time. I used to get very scared, but I realized with the time gradually that there is no point of being scared. Just give your best shot. So these are two advices that I would like to give. Now, the third advice I would like to give is that it doesn't matter that even if there is nobody to guide you, nobody to help you, with the time, gradually you will be able to learn, and I'm very sure about it. Initially, you will be very confused that things are not working according to your wish, and it's not going to happen. But once you do not quit, I can make sure that things will work according to you only. But just don't give up. So these are few advices that I want to tell all the students who want to join litigation in future. But obviously, if you want to go for a job or something like that, then there is no such thing that obviously you get a monthly salary. There is no such thing. But if you want to be into litigation, these are the advices that a young law student should actually keep in mind.
Ma'am, lastly, how can an organization like Law Community prove beneficial to the legal fraternity, and what new avenues are expected by legal professionals such as yourself?
So first of all, I would like to congratulate you all that you are running such a nice community called Law Community, and it's a very nice initiative which has been taken by you guys. I really congratulate you on this. Secondly, communities like this are very helpful for everyone, because see, only the legal professionals or the people who are running such kind of a community know what exactly law is. The normal people, the normal public, they don't know what law is. Only we know what law is. And it's very important to make them realize and to make them aware what law is, so that they can, take exact measures as and when time arrives. So it is our duty. Though the lawyers individually, they don't get time to do all such kind of a things to spread awareness. But a community like this called law community, this community can actually help public to, number one, to make awareness among them, to give them exact knowledge about their rights, and which is a very nice thing. I believe it is duty of every legal professional to make aware each and every citizen that what their rights is. So number one, to for spreading awareness, it's very important. Number two is that it actually connects the lawyers and the clients. So there are various clients who keep searching, because there can always be two aspects. Number one is that aspect, that you have a lawyer in your relative or in your friend, then obviously you do not have any problem. But here comes the second aspect where there is a person who is going through a particular problem, but he do not have a lawyer with him. He do not know to whom to connect, to whom to communicate. So this kind of community can also provide a direct networking between advocates and the clients, just for the uh, just to make it easy for the entire public to get connected to the lawyers and to the capable lawyers, because I believe at this point of time it's very important to have a good doctor and a good lawyer. So a community like this can connect good lawyers to the entire public, to the general public. So in this way also the law community can help and can take a very nice measures. And yes, these are the two ways where I believe that law community can help a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This the time and efforts that you put in this interview and the insights that you shared, we are very grateful for that. And law community really thanks you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much, ma'am. Please stay safe during this time. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Please stay safe
Yes,
and take all precautions as much as possible.